Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, please click on like and subscribe. If you've been here before, welcome back. So I lost a little bit of video there somewhere, so I'm taking a piece from the end and splicing it in here. But basically, to get this felt piece down that I'm going to show you next, those little tabs that you see there, they just push up in or pull down out. You can see I've got a little body tool there. You grab them and you pull straight down and they should pop out. Today's video, we're going to be installing some well lights on a 2024 Ram 1500. I'll put a description to the link below for these lights here. I like these. They're little puck lights or little pod lights. Put a super bright amount of light for a little bit of money. You can get them in different colors: white, red, black, green, whatever you want. Black would be interesting. These have 2 leads off of them. The factory has 3 leads off of them. Now you've got a ground, a hot, and a hot. And something else to consider, this is a 26 volt system. It's not a 12 volt system, so make sure your LEDs are compatible with 24 volts or 26 volts. So basically, when you open the car door, I'm going to open the back door, you can see we get 26 volts or right at 26 volts. When I shut the door, that will time out after whatever you've got your factory set to, 45 seconds. When you check your wire leads up here, I believe that's a green and white. My eyeballs are about shot anymore. That one actually has 26 volts on it also. What that one is connected to is the dimmer on the other side. When you turn up and down the dimmer lights to raise and lower the dashboard lighting, the voltage decreases in that line. So if you hook up your door lights or your jam lights, well lights, whatever you want to call them, to that wire, they won't go off. They'll stay on all the time unless you roll the switch all the way off and manually turn off that switch over there. So make sure you check your voltage over here and get the right wire. Again, on mine it's yellow, so black and yellow are my lights to go to my pod lights. Now to get this little panel down, there's 3 little tabs. You'll see them in there. They're just push tabs. You literally just pull down on them and they pop out. When you pop these out, it is possible you can break them. So make sure if you break one, you have some spares. If not, go to AutoZone, Advanced Auto, whatever you got, CarQuest, Napa. Pick up some extra tabs. Now one other thing I want to do, and you don't have to do this, I just like to do it, is make sure your voltage drops before you actually connect your light. Again, you don't have to, but if for some reason you touch something together, you can create a little short. You'll be popping a fuse and trying to trace down a fuse. So as you can see, my voltage just dropped. Basically the power's off to that right now. So I can hook up my well light, I'll open the door back up, check it, make sure it works. Once it works, I'll put my panel back up in place. All right, now this side may be a little bit darker. I'm gonna go ahead and pop the door so I can get some light. As you can see, that light is so much brighter than the OEM light. As you can see, the light is right here from the factory. I just reached up in here and unplugged this, pulled the harness down, spliced it into my harness, and put it back up here. My light, I just 2-way taped it to the bottom of the piece of plastic under here to hold it in place. You can put yours wherever you want, or wherever you want, but that's the end result versus the little dim bright light that you get from the factory. So in order to remove this head console, we're going to basically open up the glasses holder. Up inside here are 2 8mm bolts. It's hard to get the camera up in there, so I'm not really going to stick it up in there yet, but you'll see them. They're pretty obvious. You can't really miss them unless you're not looking. And again, it's an 8mm. And once you get those down out of there, let me move the camera so you can see better. Hopefully somebody appreciates this camera angle because it's a tough one to get to. Right here where my finger is, there's a tab on each side. You push forward on that tab. And again, let me get the camera where you can see. It's doable. Up here, push forward on that tab. And then this unit will drop down out of the ceiling. Like so. If it comes down any harder than that, you're doing something wrong. Be careful not to pull down on the back. There's 2 tabs in the back here that'll break off easy. They fit in these little grooves right here when you put it back up in. I'm going to show you how to do these bulbs. I'm just going to do one side. Obviously you repeat on the other side, the same thing you're going to do here. So I'm going to show you how to replace the bulbs in here. Now you can do this with the console in or with the console out. At the front of the video I'm going to show you how to remove the console. At the end of the video I'll show you how to put it back in. The thing with these bulbs is when you push them in, there's just a couple little clips up here. They're really flimsy clips, and if you push too hard, you'll actually push the bulb right through the clips, and you'll be taking this out anyhow. So you might as well take it out. There's two little bolts up here in the front, a couple clips, and it pops right out. Easy to remove. So I would recommend removing it if you're going to change these bulbs. So you want to make sure you're wearing gloves when you remove these. If you look around, you'll see little tabs there. What you want to do is take something really thin, really flat. If you got a plastic one, that's great, and pop it underneath of those. So you want to be close to the tab, but not so close to the tab that you're pushing against the plastic on both. And you'll have to work your way around here. Always start from the side with the SOS or the assist buttons on it. The top piece has some larger tabs underneath there, so you want to pop the bottom ones out first. Then lift up gently and slide it out. And that's how you remove that cover. Now your bulb, you want to remove this bulb from the back side. You want to take something, push your bulb down through, and pop it out through the bottom. Now when you're putting the bulb back in, I'm not going to show you on camera because it's kind of hard to show you on camera how to do it. But you can see I've got the LED bulb down in there. It sits back at an angle, so when you're putting it in, you got to kind of drop it in, wiggle it around, twist it, turn it over, and then look at the back when you're pushing it up in, and make sure your back is evenly done. And again, too much pressure, you'll pop that right out of there. Too little pressure, doesn't go in right. So it takes a little bit of finagling to get it back in there. Now to get your cover back on, you do it the opposite way. The longer tabs go underneath the back here first. You slide those under first, and then just work your way around gently. Should pop right back in place. And repeat the same thing on the other side. So while I've got this out, I'm going to run a wire from my dash cam. Now my old truck had the LED light kit and the LED console, so I had a 15-pin to dash cam wiring set. This vehicle does not have it, so as you can see, there's no 15-pin harness, there's no connector for the mirror to connect into. So I took my voltmeter, black is my ground, this pink and orange wire is hot with key on, the pink and yellow is hot with key on. Now these go down to the Uconnect system, so they should be fine all the time. I'm going to tap into one of those. I'm probably going to do the pink since it's on the outside, and the black for my ground. I've already jumped it into my dash cam. What I did is I took the 15-pin lead that I had. It's just a red and a black wire that connects to the USB for charging only. The problem with the Rams in most Dodge, all these USBs down here are connected into the radio. So when you try to plug in your dash camera to it, it automatically comes up and says this is not compatible, and it doesn't run the dash camera for all models. Now I had a next base that ran off of the USB port below. The USB-C to C did not work on it. Now this new camera I've got will not run off of either one of those. It just keeps coming up and saying basically device not compatible. And then the dash cam will actually come up and say no media card, which is weird, but basically it's trying to read it as an input and not as a power source. So I'm gonna have to come off of here with power. So I'm gonna come off the pink and the black for my power. This is for my lighting over here. So I'm not gonna come off of that because the wires are a little bit thin. And since I want a key on, I want a good constant power, I'm gonna use the bigger wires. So after I figured out my wiring, now I gotta figure out how to get my wire through to the mirror. Now this little hole right here actually goes out to the mirror, so you can push it right through. Problem is the USB-C will not fit through there, it doesn't come out. And there's no gap between the headliner and up in here to get it out through the headliner. So if I tried to take my USB-C, it would be nice if that was just a little bit bigger. You could shove it right up through there and pull it right down through here. So I'm going to take a drill, and I'm actually going to drill this out a little bit bigger so I can get my USB-C through it and then out to my front. So what I've got the step bit, I'm going to take the step bit and start my hole because I want to start at a little bit of an angle. And you definitely don't want that to catch and go through your ceilings though. Just go slow and take your time. Now I've got that started, I'm going to take my little test wire, make sure there's nothing above it. There's not. I can see the wire through my second hole, so I'm going to go ahead and punch it the rest of the way through. I'll take a file and just clean that up a little bit. On the other side, this doesn't really clip on very good. It just kind of loosely sits there. So basically I just pulled it down a little bit, grabbed my wire and pulled it the rest of the way through. Now since I'm taking this off of a harness, I'm not sure which one's positive or negative. The way I'm going to test this is basically I've got my 2 leads here. What you can't see is the other end is plugged into my camera. So basically right now the battery is putting voltage backwards out through here because it's a charging system. I'm going to take my voltmeter. I've got it set to like 200 millivolts. I'm going to put the negative on one side and the positive on the other and watch the numbers. So as you can see, I've got a minus 11, minus 12. It's going to keep going up as it picks up the battery. I don't want a minus, I want a positive number. So I'm going to switch the leads around. And as you notice now, the number is positive. That means this is my positive side, this is my negative side. Alright, so what I've done, I took a couple tap cons. If you don't know what those are, I'll do another video on those sometime. But basically, that lets you cut into the factory wire and add a wire lead to it without actually splicing the wires or cutting them in half. So I've added a positive and a negative. I made a little lead on there because if I want to change this out later, I just want to have some more wire to work with without having to cut those out or try to mess with the factory harness anymore than I have to. And when I've got my voltmeter, I'm going to check them and make sure I've got voltage when I need it. And when I don't need it, I don't have voltage. So with my vehicle in the off position, I've got no voltage. In the accessory position, 26 volts. In the run position, 26 volts. So I know that'll run my dash cam now. Take in consideration when you're pulling power from something else. Old school cars like I grew up on were 12 volts, it didn't matter. These new cars are anywhere from 12 volts, some are 5 volt sections, 20 volt sections, 24 volt sections, 48 volt sections. It's possible that you tap into something and the ECU detects a voltage drop. It may create sensor problems and things like that. So do this at your own risk. Be willing to accept the consequences if you cut in the wrong wire. I'm showing you what ones I'm cutting into. If I have no problems with them, basically I'll post a video so you can see that there's no problems with the wires I'm using, but that doesn't mean your vehicle might not be different. So do this at your own risk. So with those spliced in place, I'll turn my key on and my dash cam should come on. And the dash cam is up and running. So all my wires are good, so I can put everything back together now. So I want to see what kind of room I've got in here. Now to put the console back up in, there's 2 tabs in the back and then there's 2 tabs in the front which lock in place. I'll go ahead and plug my harnesses in here. Check my lighting, make sure my lighting works. So we're good with that. Now this excess wire, I've got as much as I need out for my dash cam. I don't plan on ever moving the dash cam, but I want to make like a little small, like 2-inch, 3-inch lead here. I'm going to grab some zip ties. I'm going to zip tie this to the factory harness up here, along with my excess, and we're going to put our console back up in. So again, I'm not sure if you can really see up in there or not. The lighting's half good in here. This zip tie right here with my USB cable going out, again, there's enough lead here. If I need to pull that out a little bit more, I can get to it. Make sure you don't block your screw holes here because your console screws into here, so don't run your wire to the point where you can't screw that back down at. And then these guys here, like I said, I'm just going to fold these back and forth and zip tie them to the factory harness up top. You can't see anyhow, so I'm going to pause it. So there's my harness up in there. Plenty of room to tuck it up underneath of this. I'm plugged back in, so we're ready to put this console back up in now. So I'll put the console in, align the two back tabs up first. You're probably going to have to move that harness around a little bit just to get room in there. Once the two back tabs click in place, push up on the front, and you should hear it click into place. Like so. And if not, check and see why not. I'm catching my little wire. So push straight up and in. Those tabs click into place that we popped out in the first place. Sorry for the blinding blue light. And then we'll put our two bolts back up in here. I can't really get the camera up in there where you can see them, but if you look up in there, you'll see the screw holes. Make sure that wire's not in the way. Start them by hand anyhow. And then you just want to snug these up. They don't have to be super tight. And when you're putting that buck up in there, if you feel anything that doesn't feel like it's going smoothly, take it back down and make sure you didn't pinch any of the wires while you were putting it up in there. Now this particular dash cam has a rear facing camera. So basically mounted in my back window, or right here is my rear facing camera. All I did with this was drop it behind the seat. And I've just got it kind of tucked in here. Nobody gets on my back seat. If somebody gets in your back seat, pull this little piece up here, it just pops out. Slide your wire underneath of there, pop it back down. And I just fished it all the way up through there. I didn't have to remove any of this. I did pull the jack cover out and just tucked it underneath of here. And when I pulled this down off of here so I could get to my LED lights, again, there's 3 tabs that pulls this little felt piece down. I went ahead and fished it in behind my wheel well. Then I'm gonna take this rubber seal, as you can see there's plenty of room here, and run that wire right up the rubber seal into my headliner and then across. Now I do want to work backwards. I want to start from the camera and work my way down. That way if I've got excess wire, I can tuck it down there. You don't want excess wire up top unless that's just the way you want it. My dash cam is probably going to be right there until I get rid of the vehicle, so no matter what happens, I'll have that same wiring in the same place. So again, I'm going to start my way over here. I'm going to just tuck this under the rubber, fish it down behind this all the way down. And there's my finished result. Like I said, you can't really see the wire except for up here by the headliner. And again, I don't have anyone that drives with me or rides with me, so that's not going to bother me at all. If you want to take a little more effort, you can fish the bottom of the headliner down and get the wire up under here, but the headliner is usually glued or attached really good to the front here. So it's hard to pull the headliner down without damaging the headliner. So in order just to not cause any damage to the vehicle, I am leasing it. I just went ahead and ran it up across the visor. And again, even if you pull the visor down, the wire comes down a little bit, but it's not going to hang down to the point where it's going to get in anyone's way. Flip it shut when you're done. Then kind of the last thing for me to do is connect my little cover panel down here, my little piece of felt. So get them plugged in. I'm going to open the door, make sure the light works. Light comes on. And when you're putting this back in, this little tab, you will see a little spot in the back here for that little tab to fit up in. Just make sure you tuck that up under there. And when you put your wires in, your wires aren't in the way of your vent. You'll see your vent sticking out the side here. And this should pretty much just fit back in like it was from the factory. If for some reason it doesn't look like it's factory fit, you've got something in the way, these little tabs here, you'll have to line the holes up a little bit, but they just push up in there. And the same thing when you're taking it down, you've just got to have a body tool kind of like this one to pull them down out of there. First couple times you pull them out, they're kind of rough. You might actually break one, so you might have to be going to the parts store to buy a couple of them. And then when you put them back in, if you do it too many times, they don't want to stay up in there, so they're inexpensive, a couple bucks to buy a box of 10. I just want to have those handy. That's my cover back in. So the last thing left for me to do is my dome in the back. And it got lost in the mail. So for now, we got blue up front, dull in the back, and as soon as the mail gets here, I'll finish the video. So to change this one, this is probably the easiest one out of the bunch to change. If you look on one end to the other, you'll see a little tiny insert. Let's see if I can get it without the light being in the way here. And a little flathead screwdriver fits right in there, and you pull down easy, and the cover falls down, and there's your bulb. Now, this is a halogen bulb. If you plan on keeping it, make sure you use a glove to take it out, because if you get a fingerprint on there, when you go to put it back in, chances are it's going to burn out pretty quick. And once your new bulb's up in there, just close this easily, push in a little bit on that tab with your thumb, and you're all set. So once you get the cover back on, that's your end result. Much brighter than the factory stuff. It's blue. You can do red, green, yellow, white, whatever color you want. I just prefer to do blue. I hope that helps everyone out. Please click on like and subscribe.